Wernher von Braun's lifelong dream was to reach the stars, but his journey began in the darkness of war. As a young German aristocrat, his passion for rocketry drew the attention of the Nazi military, intertwining his ambitions with their own. Von Braun became the chief architect of the V-2 rocket, the world's first long-range ballistic missile, a weapon that struck without warning and terrorized Allied cities. The V-2 was a technological marvel, but its creation came at a terrible human cost. Thousands died in its attacks, and even more perished as forced laborers in its production. Von Braun's genius and charisma drove his team to achieve the impossible, but his focus on technical achievement often overshadowed moral considerations. Over 3,000 V-2s were launched, killing thousands, while the suffering in underground factories was even greater. Von Braun's legacy was forever marked by this dark chapter. His dream of spaceflight built on a foundation of immense human suffering. The V-2 changed warfare and set the stage for the future of rocketry, but its shadow would follow von Braun for the rest of his life. His story is one of brilliance, ambition, and the heavy price of compromise. Peenemünde, on Germany's Baltic coast, was von Braun's kingdom, a secret hub where science and war collided. Here, he led a team of brilliant minds, racing to solve the challenges of building a massive liquid-fueled rocket. They developed powerful engines, advanced guidance systems, and mastered volatile propellants, pushing the boundaries of technology. The V-2's first successful test in 1942 was a triumph, proving large-scale rocketry was possible and hinting at humanity's future in space. Yet this breakthrough was immediately weaponized, turning dreams of exploration into tools of terror. Von Braun and his team were both pioneers and arms makers, their achievements inseparable from the destruction they enabled. He joined the Nazi Party and SS, later claiming it was necessary to continue his work, a claim still debated today. The scientific progress at Peenemünde was extraordinary, but it came with deep moral compromises under a brutal regime. The legacy of Peenemünde is one of innovation shadowed by complicity. Von Braun's genius advanced humanity, but at a profound ethical cost. By spring 1945, Germany was collapsing, and von Braun faced a critical choice: surrender to the Soviets or the Americans. Fearing Soviet control, he led his team and their precious rocket documents south to meet advancing US forces. The journey was perilous, dodging chaos and SS patrols, but von Braun was determined to secure his future. On May 2, 1945, he and his top scientists surrendered to the Americans, presenting themselves as the key to the future of rocketry. Von Braun recast himself as a visionary scientist, eager to use his knowledge for peaceful exploration. The Americans, recognizing the value of his expertise, quickly accepted. This surrender was not defeat, but a calculated move to shape the next chapter of his life. Von Braun's surrender was exactly what the US military wanted. Through Operation Paperclip, America secretly recruited German scientists, including many with Nazi ties, to gain an edge in the Cold War. Officially, Nazi affiliations were a barrier, but in practice, records were cleansed and pasts overlooked for strategic gain. The US raced the Soviets to secure this intellectual capital, prioritizing technological advantage over accountability. This pragmatic, morally ambiguous bargain brought immense expertise to America, but at the cost of ignoring complicity in Nazi crimes. Operation Paperclip remains controversial, raising questions about the price of progress. Von Braun's arrival in America was a deal with history's darker side. The legacy of this bargain would shape the American space program and its conscience. Von Braun and over 100 German rocket specialists began their American journey in the isolation of West Texas at Fort Bliss. Under Army supervision, they reassembled and test-fired V-2s, their movements restricted, their expertise carefully extracted. Frustrated by the military's limited vision, von Braun dreamed of space, but his work focused on missiles and training Americans. The outbreak of the Korean War shifted priorities, and his team moved to Huntsville, Alabama, gaining more resources and autonomy. There, they developed the Redstone rocket, a direct descendant of the V-2 and a foundation for America's space ambitions. Von Braun reinvented himself as a charismatic advocate for space, writing for magazines and collaborating with Walt Disney to inspire the public. he downplayed his Nazi past, focusing on the dream of spaceflight. His public campaign built support for a national space program. In Huntsville, von Braun laid the groundwork for America's leap into space. The launch of Sputnik in 1957 shocked America and thrust von Braun's team into the spotlight. With the Navy's Vanguard rocket failing, von Braun's Jupiter C launched Explorer 1, marking America's entry into the space age. When NASA was formed, von Braun's team became its core, and he was appointed director of the Marshall Space Flight Center. Finally free to pursue his dream, von Braun led the development of the Saturn rockets, culminating in the mighty Saturn V. The Saturn V was a masterpiece. 3 stages, 363 feet tall, and the most powerful rocket ever built. Von Braun's leadership and technical brilliance were crucial, coordinating thousands of engineers and contractors. The Saturn V's flawless record enabled the Apollo missions, including the historic moon landing in 1969. Armstrong's one small step was the ultimate fulfillment of von Braun's lifelong ambition. The dreamer of space had become the engineer of the moon landing. His vision had changed the course of history. Wernher von Braun's legacy is a study in contradiction. He is celebrated as the father of the American space program, a visionary who made the moon landing possible. Yet, his career began in service to the Nazi regime, and his rockets were built on the suffering of thousands. The US chose to overlook his past for the sake of progress, raising enduring ethical questions. Von Braun was both a dreamer and an engineer of war, a brilliant scientist with a deeply compromised history. His story forces us to confront the costs of ambition and the moral complexity of scientific achievement. He reached the moon, but the path was paved with ethical compromises. Von Braun's legacy is forever one of both triumph and tragedy.